All right. Well, welcome everybody. This is Ryan Brentz with STC, Safety Training and Compliance. And we are in the Beat Lab with some good friends in the construction industry, Jim Guntorius and Ben Carter.
Thank you for having us, Ryan.
From Talley Riggins Construction. And so we're excited to speak to them today. And specifically, we're going to talk about a group that they spearheaded, really being pioneers, innovators in this industry in the local area, which is growing like crazy here in Dallas-Fort Worth. And it's called the Breakthrough Builders. And the reason why we brought them in today is just to learn more about this group, which STC has been a part of, but we're just trying to shed some light on what these two professionals are doing in the industry. And so, yeah, just to kick it off, I really just want to ask you to, like, what was the inception of this group? How did this even get started?
It started, I was driving home one day. It was probably 7, 8 o'clock, like normal, late in the afternoon, after dinner, particularly frustrating day, and over things that I've dealt with repeatedly through the years, and thinking about why do we keep dealing with the same issues over and over? And I was sitting out on my back deck that evening, getting frustrated and thinking about there's got to be some way to do better. And I messaged another guy on LinkedIn and said, hey, there's a group out there that we can get together and talk about the problems in industry. Would you be interested in that? And he said, absolutely. So I made a post on LinkedIn and it went crazy. So that was the beginning of it. And really, Ben pushed it from there, because if he left it to me, I don't know if it'd be where it's at today.
Well, I didn't even know he put it out there until the next day, and I called him and I said, Jim, what the heck did you just start? Because I just see all these likes.
I saw it. I liked his post and it blew up.
Yeah, it was huge.
So from there, you throw out this idea, it explodes, goes viral in a sense, right?
Yep.
So what was the thought process from there? You talked about you two. Like, how did you guys come together and figure out what's next?
Well, just kind of little introductions on ourselves, and I'll let Jim go first and kind of talk about, with yourself in the industry here, and then we'll.
Thank you. Yeah, excuse me. That is a great segue. Let's get a little background. That's a great intro, but I want to learn more about you guys to get some context. So, Jim?
I started in the industry here in DFW back in 1985. Started out at the bottom, carpenter's helper. The heaviest thing I picked up in my life up to that point was a 4x4 the first day on that job.
Oh, wow.
Worked my way all the way up through the ranks, through the years, to where I'm at now, which is a general superintendent.
Awesome. And Ben?
So I've been in the industry for a little over 8 years, and Jim's been my mentor for a good majority of that, and really was fortunate to have him in my life and as a mentor in construction, really learning things in lean construction too, and all about that continuous improvement mindset. But before that, I spent 7 years in IT, had our own firm out in Southlake, and I owned a product called MyLock. It was a password management technology. So focused a lot of efforts in there. I found that I could use a lot of things here in the construction world, and really we just took off from there. So we've been working together for quite some time now.
That's really cool how you two teamed up on this. And so as I was discussing just how it started, so you started this up from this post, and then from there, how did you guys come together with next steps?
Well, we really sat there and looked at it and talked about, all right, I guess we got to do something now. I threw it out there and we got this response. I guess we better act on it. Because quite honestly, there's a lot of people in every industry that talk about things, but never act on it.
Yeah.
And I mean, we see it every day on the jobs. We see it every day in companies. We see it all over the place. And the last thing we want to do was throw this idea out there and not make something happen out of it.
Yeah.
So then we started spearheading what that event would look like, what type of lean processes that we knew that would work well in that environment. That's how we settled on that format. It's a hybrid lean coffee format that we used for that event.
Yeah, and I think Jim was like, he came and he was like, well, is this something real? Is this something tangible that we can do? Because none of us like doing anything that doesn't create value. We don't like wasting anybody's time.
Yeah.
And I said, it really is something different, because it's not just about the whole change. And really what you're going after, Jim, is just trying to create a better environment. And how do we go about helping people and just being better and creating that value? And I think what he had started to gain a lot of traction, and I think it was headed in the right direction. So we just said, okay, let's figure out a way. We don't really know what we're going to talk about, but let's figure out a way to get everybody together. And then we'll kind of just go from there, because we really didn't know where this was going to take off or what direction Breakthrough Builders was going to go in.
Yeah. And I want to highlight two things there. I mean, one, someone had to break through this. And so I love the name itself, because Jim, you have a vast experience in this industry. Obviously, you've been through a lot. You've seen a lot. And in this digital age, you made it known, and you've got a wide, deep connection points with people. And so it registered, it resonated with people.
Right.
So people responded. At that point, you got to do something. So I think both your experience with lean specifically, I want to comment on the two meetings that we've had thus far have been really cool as an attendee to be a part of, because it's allowed for everyone to get their voice heard in a very formatted, organized way. And it helps facilitate not only what are the issues, but then how can we pinpoint where we want to focus our efforts.
Right.
And so you two have done a great job of facilitating that. You talked about all these people that responded to it. So who has been part of this Breakthrough Builders thus far?
Man, there's been a bunch. Like I said, the response was overwhelming. I mean, it's 14, 15 different general contractors, up to 20 different trade partners, a lot of different support industries such as STC and some insurance companies, stuff like that. But the response has been really overwhelming. Especially, I mean, the amount of GCs that replied that they've been at these meetings working together, it's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, we've even had direct competitors be in the same room sharing some of this knowledge. So it's been really awesome to see everybody kind of come together collectively and talk through some of these things that we're all facing.
So in the lean world, it's common for these guys to share information.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get outside of that lean concept, people are really holding stuff close to their heart.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the information is needed. That's where a lot of the problems are. That's where you really got to kind of get people to open up and help them out.
Yeah, and that's what I love so much about attending. I didn't know what to expect from the first one. I knew that it would probably be a hodgepodge of different groups of people. So I was interested to see how it was run. And when you guys facilitated it, this lean framework was awesome for discussion. Can you kind of give the audience an awareness of how you framed up that initial meeting, and like what were you trying to discuss?
So actually, we weren't trying to discuss anything that we had other than, hey, we're bringing this group together. Like, here's our mission. We want to bring everybody, all these pioneers in our industry, to talk about what you wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And then that engagement with that lean coffee really brings out each group talking about those conversations that they wanted to talk about, those challenges, those issues, or the solutions that we had, or best practices that we have for that. And kind of going back to Jim's point, I mean, the solutions are out there in the industry, and so are the problems. It's just connecting the two, and that's really where we wanted to start. I mean, we were both really nervous kind of getting up to the first one, because we didn't have a direction, because we were trying to get that from the group and get that from the community, is like, what are you guys facing right now? And we wanted to steer it from what everybody wanted, not our needs. And that's what's so cool about this. So we didn't really know. That's why we were so nervous, because we didn't know what we were going to talk about, what was going to happen. So it's very different. And, the lean coffee format kind of really gets that out of folks. And I think we kind of siloed into 6 different components of conversations. And I think that helped kind of steer the direction for the next session that we had.
Yeah, I think I paced that conference room for 4 hours before we did it.
Yeah.
I don't think I sat down the entire afternoon, the morning up to it. I was just back and forth trying, all right, what are we going to do here?
Yeah. So after the first session, I really enjoyed that, because I got to hear other voices, and that was the intent, like you were saying beforehand. From that, though, I had my own ideas about how STC could support an initiative like this. And so I wanted to reach out to you intentionally and figure out how we can get more involved. And so I remember I reached out to you guys after that first session. Y'all came out here. I think we got some really great takeaways or thoughts from that. Do you guys remember that time when y'all came out?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's really what fired us up to do this next session. And it was so cool to see like how engaged that you guys were, and you specifically, on like, hey, we have, we talked about some of these issues. This is how we deal with some of these things. We want to help. We want to be a part of this. and how do we drive some of those conversations, and that kind of, which is what led us to that next idea of like, hey, you know what? We don't really need to just be the ones facilitating this. Like, let's engage those that are a part of this group to facilitate that. And that's why you're like, okay, manpower is our deal. We deal with a lot of these issues on a day-to-day basis at STC. Can we facilitate those conversations for the next session? And that kind of led us to doing that and having a few others do that same thing in this next session.
Yeah, 3 things that we're really passionate here at STC are educating, engaging, and empowering employees and employees of our clients. And so when I heard about that issue of manpower in the first session, I wanted to discuss some tangible ways and resources, services that we can provide to the industry, because obviously we're trying to grow as a company, but at the end of the day, we just want to help as many people as possible, help people get home safely, help businesses with their brand and their profits, and ultimately their people. And so that was a great opportunity for us to share more with you, and then think about, okay, how could this parlay into the next session? So like you said, I was able to help facilitate that. I spoke about manpower at that last session we had, but there were also a couple other topics. Do you guys want to speak to any of those?
Well, like on the manpower one, if we can't make this industry more attractive, we're going to continue to fight that. Years ago, and throughout my career, PMs, people in the company would send me their kids to work for the summer and said, make him want to go to college. And I would treat that kid like dirt, make him do all the bad things. I mean, just work them to death.
Yeah.
To make them want to go to college. Not one person's ever sent me their kid, said, hey, make him love the construction industry.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, that's easier to do. There's so much to love about this industry, the people, the pride you get, the satisfaction level of doing a good job. We need to see more of that than people saying, hey, make my kid want to go to college. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with going to college, but too many people just kind of
glaze over it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more that we can do to make the industry attractive. And it all starts from having those peer-to-peer level conversation. I think somebody in that second session brought up, hey, instead of going home, sitting at the dinner table with your family and your kids, don't say that you had a terrible day. Don't be so negative about it. Create a more positive mentality towards construction, because you may have had a bad day, but we're all in this industry because we love it. Some of us fell into it. I fell into it, and I fell in love with it. It's a great industry to be in and can be extremely rewarding. And I think it all starts on those peer-to-peer level of really just focusing those conversations on turning it from negative to positive. And there's some great resources out there that are working to do that at a high level, but it really starts from that day-to-day basis, just sitting there at the dinner table talking to your family, being positive about your environment.
To get those conversations started first, though, you got to treat the people on the job right.
Yep.
It starts with respect. It starts with trust. It starts out on the job site. Every person talking to each other from the top down. It's got to be a positive environment.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the people keep going back to the people,
yes.
And also a big highlight from these sessions is relationships. And so you just talked about bringing people together. Like, why is that so important? That more people are breaking through these perceived barriers, or maybe not even perceived. It's just people don't have the forum to really build relationships. So has that been something that has come from this group? It's just opportunities for relationships?
Yeah, I think relationships are a big thing in this industry. I mean, we all work together all the time. It doesn't matter if it's a small industry. We all run into the same people throughout the years. And the better you can build a relationship, the better off you are down the road. Big part of a relationship is trust.
Yep.
And in the old days, you used to have to build trust. Today, things are so fast paced. You really got to kind of give that trust first.
Yeah.
Because there's hardly anybody out there that wants to do a bad job. They're all coming out to do the best they can for you. You got to trust them to do that.
Yeah.
Been around places to where everybody in the world talked about everybody. There wasn't a team. It was all just back talking about this person, that person. And, I was even told once that through the grapevine that I would wear a pink tutu if that's what it took to get the job done.
True story. I was there.
Wow.
And that's how the conversations went throughout the whole project.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a team there. There wasn't trust. There wasn't relationships. And to really build those relationships, you got to start with trust.
Yeah, and that all goes back to making the industry more attractive, and like you don't want to come into an industry where you can't trust, and like where you get beat down so much by this pecking order, and you're coming in as like a an assistant or something, or a PE just kind of starting out. A lot of these folks get washed out in that first year because they get so beat down on things, and it's just we have to be better about building folks up and be better at getting that trust and really working it.
Well, we got to know what our people want, what they need, what makes them tick, what makes them get up in the morning, what makes a successful day for them. The better we know our people on the job site, the better we can perform, the better we take care of everybody.
Yeah, some of the takeaways, man, I'm going back to my manpower because I was talking about that, but everything from recruiting and advertising to this new generation to get into construction is such a big thing that we got to focus on as a collective group. But then the retention, once you do get them on board, how are you ensuring from the get-go, like you said, Jim, that you are starting off with a bang and showing, the trajectory and the light that can occur as they continue to develop in their career? And how do you over time retain them, give them a path to continue to grow and develop and feel valued within their organization and feel valued by the companies that they work with, that's what I really took away from our session, was just hearing other struggles that companies were having, but also starting to talk about ideas for solutions when it came to manpower. And I know I wasn't the only discussion. We had other topics that we discussed. But from those events, we got some good takeaways. And I think that will help steer you guys for the future events that we have.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And not just with the events too, just like our mission as a whole. And I think that kind of got crafted after these first two, what Breakthrough Builders is really about. And I think it kind of became real crystal clear to us is really two core areas of focus. And that first area is like, we're here to serve. We want to be the soundboard. We want to be the catalyst, or really that substance that accelerates the folks that are out there like yourself, like the other folks that are joining in our group, to really accelerate this momentum of change. Like, let's stop talking about these things. Let's actually make them happen. And let's do that here at a peer-to-peer level. And that second part of what Breakthrough Builders mission is about is we're really pushing to create that one-stop shop platform so that we can drive where, like I said, we have all the problems in the world here, but we also have all the solutions, and they're all inside of our industry.
Yeah.
We can share those things, and a big hindrance to that in a lot of organizations, a lot of individuals don't want to do that because we're fearing that we're sharing our intellectual capital.
Yeah.
But you can share as much knowledge as you'd like to or not like to, and still be a part of being a change for the whole. And I think that and that's part of what Breakthrough Builders is breaking through those boundaries and letting everybody know that, hey, we're all here to get better together. That kind of goes back to, we have a saying at Talley Riggins, one team, one goal. I think if we take that and apply that to at an industry level, we're all here to be better in this industry.
Yeah.
And so if we can focus on that effort, I think that it'll go a long ways.
I look at it as, is Breakthrough Builders going to solve a lot of construction industry problems? No. But what it will do is give those people who do attend little bit nuggets of wisdom or different tools they can use to make their day better, make their projects better, make the teams better, which in turn have huge impact on the overall industry as it goes down the line.
Yeah, I think about transparency is a word that keeps coming to my mind as you guys have initiated these sessions. It hasn't felt stuffy. It hasn't felt too organized because it came from a very organic place of you guys wanting to help the industry. So people didn't feel stifled in a sense where I got to show up and kind of say my speech in a very professional manner. I mean, everyone was professional, but they didn't have to be so tight-lipped.
Right.
Which has been refreshing, you know what I mean? And going back to what you guys were talking about, really having an abundance mindset, because I think nowadays everyone wants to hold their own and protect their own, and people are scared about letting out their secrets. And
absolutely.
That's a scarcity mindset. And in doing so, that's really holding us back as an industry, as a region. Like, we want win-win scenarios. We want to break through that mindset. And I think you guys are allowing for that. Your platform is really giving way to that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I think that all goes back to that stigma of just, being afraid. Like, I think that was the biggest surprise to us was like, wow, geez, there is a lot more folks that have that same mindset like us that are just been like, because I mean, we were afraid too to kind of push this out. And, we're very thankful to be at an organization where they're allowing us to do this and to really grow in this kind of environment. And I think that there's a lot more that are out there that are really willing to, not just talk about change, but make change happen. I think that's why this group is so different and it's so great. It's just because we're all coming together with that one goal mentality, just like we want change to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said. Well, that's great. Well, is there anything else that you want to talk about when it comes to breakthrough builders? Anything else that we need to touch on?
It's definitely been exciting.
Yeah.
The impact from just those 2 sessions and the emails we get from them have been inspiring.
Yeah.
It makes you want to continue. It makes you want to keep pushing. It makes you want to do more for everybody. So
gives you energy, right?
yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that all goes back into like the why in terms of like what's our long-term goals or what long-term success looks like for us. And I know we talked about like the tangible, the concrete thing that we're really trying to work on is creating that platform or that hub for everybody to kind of, okay, we have all these resources available that are solving the problems that some of us are facing and the challenges and the burdens and things like that. But it's also that why that Jim was talking about. Like we are really driven to, and there's a lot of folks out there, a lot of subject matter experts that, have all these different resources, but there's not one platform that's really hosting all these things. And we're starting at that peer-to-peer level, but we're really wanting to elevate that to really bring this to light in a whole new way.
Yeah, because there's a lot of great things out there. On LinkedIn, there are a lot of people providing lots of different opportunities, a lot of different podcasts, different books out there that have been great.
Yeah.
Different companies like yourselves who do provide training. Texo's a great resource. There's a lot of different resources out there, but they're all over the place.
Yeah.
And that's
confusing.
Kind of and the more people we get together in that room, the more those resources are shared and the more people that can be helped by it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about this. That's really exciting to even think about in the future is this hub of great resources and information where people, they may assume, like I'm talking about our own company at STC, people look at the name of our company and just consider us as like OSHA and rule keepers help you maintain the standards, which we do, but we do a whole lot more than that. Just as all these other companies or groups that are involved, they want to speak to so much more that they can provide to the industry or to their clients. The only way that's going to get out there is if, there's more opportunity to spread that message. Yeah. And so you guys are helping create that hub to get the word out and help everybody win-win.
Yeah. And that kind of goes back to like us being a soundboard. We want to be that safe space where you can come in, even if your competitor's sitting across the table from you, being able to share that knowledge and not feel like you're going to have some sort of negative impact. And I think that's why things are so siloed in our industry. And like we have all these great resources in these silos, but they're not broken together because, going back to that stigma, like just being like afraid of, sharing that intellectual capital. I think there's a way to share the knowledge. And honestly, I think that's the only way we change as an industry and get better is being able to share that knowledge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, good deal. Well, to really wrap it up, gentlemen, I mean, how can they find breakthrough builders? What can people expect on the horizon moving forward into 2024? Can you speak to some of those things?
So yes, our next event is going to be the end of January. We hope to announce the date here pretty soon. We're shooting for the end of January. We're just waiting on confirmation of the meeting space. And it'll be along the same format again, but we intend on doing it every 2-3 months throughout the year. And hopefully here before long, we get that web page together and start getting that information consolidated where everybody can use it.
Yeah, we're really pushing on those two things, but we want to keep the peer-to-peer thing kind of our main focus. And then hopefully, that's here in DFW, but maybe one day it branches off and, goes nationwide and that type of thing. But really focusing on keeping that effort going because there's a great group here in DFW, a lot of great minds here, and sharing that knowledge. I think it's starting here is a great way to do that. And then also pushing that website, and hopefully that comes up here at the beginning of next year. So,
but I think the big value still is the actual in-person meetings, getting the people together face-to-face, talking about their issues, talking about their problems, and hearing how other people address it and resolve them.
Absolutely.
To me, that's probably the biggest meat and bones of the group getting together.
Yeah, I've definitely appreciated it, and I've already built some great connections in the
Yep.
past 2 meetings. So I'm really thankful for the in-person meetings. But on the web, virtually for right now, they can find you on LinkedIn, correct?
Yes.
Where's
Pretty
that?
much. Yeah. Breakthrough Builders Network is a group page. And then you can also find us both by our names on LinkedIn as well,
Yep.
too.
Awesome.
So,
Well, we'll include that in these show notes, and just want to amplify the message of Breakthrough Builders. Jim and Ben, it's been a pleasure to have you in our Beat Lab, and we look forward to all the great things ahead as you guys continue to break through in this industry and in this region of Dallas-Fort Worth. So thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you, Scott. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks for asking us to be here.
absolutely.
Yeah.